Welcome back to the Three Stooges, where we dive into all types of works, literary, cinematic, construction, and more.
We're glad you could join us today for this new journey.
Today we will talk about Of Mice and Men, a novel about two working class men trying to find their American dreams as farmhands in the great state of California. Of Mice and Men is a novella written by accredited author John Steinbeck. It was written by Steinbeck to be both a novella and a play. Both versions have been very successful and well renowned.
When looking at Steinbeck's past, his recurring ideas of working class struggles and the American dream make sense. As a teenager, he worked as a ranch assistant on farms in California, and his experience impacted him greatly.
The Great Depression also serves as a backdrop and further supported his story of working class struggles. The title itself also provides insight into the events of the novel and its themes.
A parallel is drawn between mice and men, who are both seen as very fragile in this novel, but in different ways. Just as the mice in Lenny's pocket are easily crushed by Lenny's harsh hands, George and Lenny's dreams are crushed by a harsh world.
Soft.
Let go, Lenny, let go!
Soft.
Help! Rape! The story starts off with ladies' man Lenny being accused of raping a woman in the town of Weed. Lenny grabbed onto her dress and would not let go.
It isn't until the men of the town gather to lynch Lenny that him and George leave town.
The two friends make their way to a river where they set up camp to hide, and there, a shocking discovery is made.
What's that?
George discovers that Lenny has killed a mouse by petting it just a little too hard. This continues Lenny's path to destruction and is the first of many run-ins with death for the two.
Fugitive George and Lenny then make their way to a ranch in which they meet a self-conscious one-handed handyman, his soon-to-be unfortunate dog, a boss, his son with small man syndrome, his wife, and a couple ranch hands.
Here is when we first see progress towards George and Lenny's American dream, as it shows the first steps towards owning their own farm and making it their own.
Alright guys, that sound means the start of our next segment, mind penetration.
First off, we're going to begin analyzing the tone of the novella. Steinbeck uses the harsh but realistic style of naturalism. He writes the book as if he's just stating observations about the characters. He has no control over them or their actions and sees them as animals or beasts. To go along with this style, he describes Lenny several times using animal imagery, comparing him to a bear and a horse. However, his tone is not all negative, as he comes off as a sympathetic to their predicament, especially Lenny's.
Of Mice and Men is a story that also utilizes symbolism within its characters, settings, and events to deepen the intended meaning of the novel. There are many obvious symbolic characters such as Lenny and Crooks who symbolize people who suffer from discrimination in America because of race and mental handicaps. Many of Steinbeck's settings have deeper meanings as well, including the area by the river, where George and Lenny's story both begins and ends, and the barn, which is a symbol of safety for animals, making it ironic for what ends up happening to the puppy and Curly's wife within it. The greatest symbol of them all throughout the novella is the dream farm. George and Lenny's dream farm represents heaven. The two strive to reach it, but after Lenny kills somebody, it makes it impossible to reach it.
To wrap up our mind penetration segment, let's analyze the themes of Mice and Men. The main overarching theme is about dreams and hopes. Every person we meet has their own dream. George and Lenny obviously have their shared dream of owning a piece of land surrounded by a white picket fence with plenty of animals that they can play with. Crooks points out that this is basically every ranch hand's dream, and George and Lenny aren't that special. But because their dream is so similar to each other's, people like Candy and eventually Crooks join in and believe in this fantasy. Unfortunately, as the show goes on, you guys will get to see how this dream, or rather, the American dream, is shattered.
Alright guys, that marks the end of our segment, Mind Penetration.
You ever been around a dog that just won't stop barking?
Carlson sure has.
In the novella, Carlson is quick to kill fellow farmhand, Candy's dog, in the process foreshadowing what will happen to poor Lenny at the end of the novel.
Candy regrets not killing the dog himself and waiting until it was too late which has an impact on George and his thoughts and actions towards Lenny throughout the rest of the novel.
At this point in their journeys, George and Lenny decide they are ready for the next step in their discombobulated American dream. They decide to start working towards the goal of owning their own farm, getting many people on board, including Crooks, a black farmhand that they meet along the way. Life's going pretty well, ain't it, Lenny? We haven't killed anybody in a couple days.
It sure is.
How about we? I think we're ready. To buy our own place, aren't we?
I would hope so. This shows that in America, people often have fantasies of improbable dreams due to their current situation. This is shown as positive with Crooks as it gives him hope for his future.
This is also seen as negative with George and Lenny, as it forces them to take action, which ultimately leads to their downfall.
Lenny then proceeds to continue his downfall, breaks Curly's hand, and kills a puppy. Yikes.
Ah, goddamn, Lenny! Curly's wife decides now is the best time to enter the scene, and sparks a conversation with Lenny. Lenny reveals to her that he likes to pet soft things. Curly's wife likes the attention, so she offers him the chance to pet her hair. I think we can see where this is going.
I think we can.
I like to pet soft things.
You can pet my hair if you'd like. Oh, Lenny! Lenny, let go!
Yep, that's right. Lenny snaps Curly's wife's neck.
It was at this moment that he knew he f***ed up.
Lenny proceeds to follow George's rules that he had established in case anything went south. Lenny makes sure to take the dead dog with him and goes into hiding.
The defining scene in the novella comes near the end. As the ranch workers chase Lenny in an angry mob, George realizes what he must do. Hey, Lenny.
George, I didn't mean to do it. I was petting her hair and then she just fall.
Just think about the farm, man. Just think about the farm.
Yeah, the farm. We're gonna have a piece of land.
What you say? That you only meant well, cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best, cause it.
George grabs Carlson's gun and goes to the spot where he knows Lenny will be. In a parallel to the way Carlson puts down Candy's dog earlier in the novella, George puts Lenny down humanely and quickly.
With Lenny's death, so does George and Lenny's dream of owning their own ranch die. This shows that the American dream of working class people in America will always be crushed by the harsh conditions of the outside world.
Of Mice and Men is not just a book about wabbits and murder. We learn about how women are treated as objects and how little choice and individuality they have. The main examples we see of women in the story are Aunt Clara, who is only mentioned briefly, some prostitutes that the men of the ranch see as a way to let off some steam, and Curly's wife, who is not even allowed her own name.
We also get to see how racism forced Crooks to face the truth of the American dream. The main central theme that we're supposed to walk away with is that the American dream is unrealistic and unachievable for the working class.
George and Lenny's dream is to own their own piece of land where Lenny gets to play with rabbits. Yet we see it all fall apart at the very end. The only person who doesn't get to see reality is Lenny, as George spares him the sadness of that reality.
Thank you for watching. This has been the Three Stooges.
Today, that's way too loud, you. I'm holding the camera. We captured the animal.
Your time